I'm not selling any stock for, I don't know, I'd call it a minimum 18 to 24 months. So you can count on me like no stock sales till probably, I don't know, 2025 or something.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to say Tesla's done because it's too good a company. I am saying the enthusiasm is done. And maybe that's good.
So a year ago, Tesla stock was literally at all-time highs, and today it's now at 2-year lows. Makes perfect sense. Today we're going to hear the mainstream media react, analysts, talking heads, Tesla shorts, Tesla bears, and a few bulls with a little bit of time perspective, sharing their thoughts and opinions on Tesla stock, what's going on, and where to from here. And if you're in the mood to cancel me, head over to Patreon, check out today's video, runs in at over half an hour. I react to women's extremely, and I mean extremely, unrealistic expectations when it comes to men, what they're looking for in a partner, and in particular, how much income they'd like their future man to actually earn. This is equal parts hilarious and possibly going to get me cancelled one day. If you're not a member on Patreon, you want to check the video out, plus the archive of over 250 others. You can join with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment. First, a very short clip from CNBS. Two butthurt babies who for some reason have an extremely intense emotional reaction to not only Tesla, but Elon Musk. I believe both of which have been painfully short Tesla stock in the past and had their faces torn off. So let's hear from Dummy Spit Dan and Tim Seymour on. You still short, Tim?
Frank, well, Elon Musk saying just now that he doesn't plan to sell any more Tesla shares in the immediate future. Speaking in a Twitter Spaces, he said, quote, "You can count on me, no stock sales until like probably 2025 or something." He doubled down on that, adding, quote, "You have my commitment. I won't sell stock probably until 2 years from now." Musk adding that he believes his political comments have a, quote, "minor impact on Tesla sales." This, of course, comes as Tesla is on track for its worst month on record. Shares of the EV maker are up 3%, though, here, Frank, in extended session.
All right, our Pippa Stevens back at CNBC headquarters. Thank you, Pippa. Dan, turn it over to you. You're
Who's
making
that. Sorry.
I mean, go ahead, Tim.
Well,
Tim, you already
no,
Tim,
I want to hear. I want to hear Dan on this one. Actually, then I'll jump in.
So really quickly, again, Elon Musk has established himself as a liar on this exact topic. He said that numerous times over the last year, and he's continued to sell stock. Here's the thing.
So the question, is Dan being intellectually dishonest, or is he actually that dumb? Why do I ask if he's actually that dumb? Well, Elon Musk did previously state no further Tesla stock sales are planned and subsequently sold later. This, believe it or not, does not make Elon Musk a liar. Plan is something you put in place ahead of time to occur at a future point. When Elon says no further Tesla stock sales are planned, that's because no further Tesla stock sales are planned. If he then sells Tesla stock in the future, that does not mean he is a liar. However, Elon has explicitly said this time, he hasn't said no further Tesla stock sales are planned. He has explicitly said, I won't be selling Tesla stock for X amount of time. If Elon then goes back on this promise, that would make him a liar. But that doesn't fit the narrative of Butthurt Baby Dan over here.
Because of all of his Tesla shares that have been pledged to banks for a whole host of reasons as it relates to this Twitter deal, he might be forced to sell. It might be the bank selling because it's a margin call. So again, I just don't think that places a whole heck of a lot. I mean, it wouldn't make me feel a whole heck of a lot better if I was one of these long-suffering shareholders now who've seen him just sell the stock in their faces for months and months.
If by long-suffering Tesla stock investor he means long-celebrating Tesla stock investor, I've been licking my lips now all year. It's 2019 all over again. I've been praying to the flying spaghetti monster and my prayers have been answered. I believe the only Tesla shareholders who are currently suffering are those who may not be emotionally cut out for investing in the first place.
Elon Musk says he is done selling Tesla stock, at least for now. The CEO's offloaded almost $40 billion of stock this year, mostly to fund his purchase of Twitter. He made comments on a Twitter Spaces audio conference yesterday.
I'm not selling any stock for, I don't know, I'd call it a minimum 18 to 24 months. So you can count on me like no stock sales till probably, I don't know, 2025 or something.
Joining us now, Bloomberg Global Autos editor Craig Trudell. It's exciting because he was my editor for quite a long time as well. We're modestly higher now in pre-market, 0.8%. We snapped 5 days of losses on Tesla. My point is investors like what they heard. What did Elon Musk say?
I think they like what they heard, but to Matt's point earlier, this is a case of maybe third time's the charm, right? Where he said twice now before yesterday that he was done selling, and then he went on to sell more. So he at first in April sold 8.5 billion, in August 6.9 billion. Both of those times is when he made his first statements that I'm done.
Once again, context matters, and this is intellectually dishonest. Elon didn't explicitly say, I will not be selling more Tesla stock. He didn't intend on selling more Tesla stock, but he never made any promises. He now has, and this is important.
And then he sold 4 billion more in November and 3.6 billion more this month. So I think that may help explain a little bit why, we saw a positive reaction last night and maybe some of that coming down. The other reason that I would definitely be looking at what the stock does today is just, the sort of downbeat view that he offered on the economy. He said, he does expect an intense recession in 2023 and even likened it to being, perhaps similar to 2009. So obviously, that's quite a serious statement for him to be making, and so it may be a case of a little bit of positive, but also some negative mixed in last night.
It's pretty obvious that 2023, maybe 24, is going to be pretty brutal to say the least. Of course, Tesla is the most well-positioned automotive company on earth to survive the brutality. It's not going to be pretty. I think this is going to massively accelerate the already accelerating decline of legacy automotive manufacturers. Tesla will far and away be the biggest winner throughout this recession. And yes, they will still continue to sell every vehicle they make. I've been saying this for years. I continue to stand by this statement. Now, to be clear, I've never said Tesla will continue to sell every vehicle they make at today's prices. In fact, quite the opposite. In order to continue to sell every vehicle they make, they will continue to, overall, need to drive the prices down, which is literally on their fucking website under their master plan posted in 2016. Given the fact that Tesla already has industry-leading profit margins, give or take $20+ billion in the bank, they can weather a serious, brutal, catastrophic recession, the storm of all storms. They can reduce the price of their vehicles massively, continue to sell them all, and still make money on them. They could even sell vehicles for no profit for a period of years and still be fine because of the enormous amount of cash they have available. Never mind the burgeoning battery business and so on. This is not a luxury other automotive manufacturers have. They're riddled with debt, have razor-thin profit margins at best, shitty products, low demand, poor wait times, and have to trick consumers into buying their products by spending money advertising. It's also important to understand that Tesla is developing their fully autonomous vehicles. So it's in Tesla's best interest to get their vehicles out on roads, even if they're not making any money on them, just to collect data to improve the technology, which ultimately unlocks a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. One thing is for sure, 2023 is going to be a very interesting year.
Speaking of wise decisions, Elon Musk continues to be a talking point as the Tesla and Twitter CEO took to Spaces last night, Twitter Spaces, to say that he will not sell any more Tesla stock for another 2 years. He said 18 months, 24 months. This comes after Musk sold $3.6 billion in stock last week, bringing his total sold over the last year to almost $40 billion. And let's be clear here, his credibility is just about nil when he says he's not selling more stock, because he has said several times, notably in April and August, I believe, that he wasn't selling more stock. And then he went ahead and sold more stock.
This is just so dishonest and deceptive. It really bothers me when people falsely paint somebody in a negative light and make false claims. For example, that Elon Musk doesn't have integrity. Just unreasonable. It's like there's motherfuckers who go, how come you recommended people buy Tesla stock at blah, blah, blah price? And I've never recommended anybody do anything with Tesla stock. I just tell people what I'm doing. Share my thoughts and opinions. I've never, literally never, because I'm too fucking smart. You really think I'm dumb enough to be giving investment advice on the internet? No, I'm nowhere near that fucking dumb. Many other YouTubers are. They're literally saying, do this now, buy this now, sell this now, blah, blah, blah. I'm playing 4D chess here. Never that dumb. Yet there's an army of people continuously claiming that I said to do this and do that and said buy this. It's just such a heinous act to make false statements about what somebody said or did without them there to defend themselves. And the media's doing this repeatedly regarding Elon Musk and his Tesla stock sales. People who don't do their homework, don't think, don't know how to use a dictionary, go, oh, what a fucking liar. They said that he said he wasn't going to sell and then he sold. But the truth is, Elon never said, I'm not going to sell again. He says no further Tesla stock sales are planned. And the media continues to repeat this lie and defame Elon Musk. It's unacceptable.
Part of that related to his acquisition of Twitter. And he also just says he's not feeling great right now because of the economic backdrop. And that's been part of the reason why he said he's been selling stock.
Nothing like hearing from Elon Musk saying he is expecting a severe recession or economic slowdown. Really, 2 weeks before they're supposed to announce delivery estimates, which is a major red flag. It's almost like he's giving you guidance real time. And to that end, friend of the show, Dan Ives, out with another one of his Tesla notes, which I continue to write up. I have that story on yahoofinance.com right now, saying Elon Musk is asleep at the wheel of Tesla. And I think Dan is now coming around to this view, and maybe not some others on the street just yet, that maybe Elon should also take a back seat at Tesla. If he's going to be that focused on Twitter, maybe he should get a more of a focused CEO at Tesla, more of an automotive guy to run that company as well.
I mean, he did try to reassure investors on that front as well during the Spaces. He said he hasn't missed a single important meeting at Tesla. He also talked about that Tesla is orders of magnitude more complicated to run than Twitter, which is interesting given that
making cars.
He seems to be spending more of his time on Twitter these days, but he did talk about that. So it's kind of interesting here. You know, we'll see if he switches his attention going into the new year, but it feels like the shiny new toy is still getting most of his attention. And by the way, as we keep talking about, it has really cost Elon Musk and Twitter, and it has benefited one of the villains in the Musk universe, and that's people who have shorted Tesla shares.
Yes, some good commentary from our very own senior editor Miles Udland in the Morning Brief newsletter, looking at how much short sellers have cleaned up. But Julie, the stats on Tesla are not pretty. Down 70% from the highs last year. I believe down more than 30% in the past month alone. And you can make the argument this sell-off may just be getting started. And I mention that because the street largely has still supported Musk. But this was the week, really, where you start to see some of that Wall Street backlash, not just because of what he's doing in Twitter, but because the fundamentals of the business appear to be slowing. And
you see there the short interest in the stock, the data coming to us from S3 Partners, mark-to-market profits from those shorts, $15 billion this year. That doesn't reflect yesterday's decline. But, you know, obviously it's kind of incredible here. The next biggest short, by the way, the next most profitable short this year is Amazon. That's $6.2 billion. So less than half of what people have made by shorting Tesla this year. It has been a big profitable bet. There's one more thing that I do want to mention here this morning, because Elon Musk has really pushed this off and said, this is a macro problem. This is a Federal Reserve problem. They're raising rates. That makes my business more difficult. But to your point, there also have been some fundamental issues. One of the others is that the company remains, Tesla that is, not to be confused, the primary company, it remains under scrutiny by federal regulators at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. According to reporting from CNBC this morning, NHTSA now has included 2 more crashes in its broadening investigation of what it says are possible accidents tied to, or crashes tied to, Tesla's autopilot program. Doesn't seem to be having a big negative effect on the stock, but it is something that the bears have consistently pointed to as a potential negative for the company.
We can sit here for the next 2 hours and talk about this guy in Tesla. It's endless, and we're still going to be doing this again next year. It's just reality.
They love it.
This morning, now you have more of a positive stance on Tesla than I think the market is thinking about right now. You say there are green shoots over the next 6 to 12 months. Take us through them.
Sure. The market doesn't seem to be very positive on Tesla currently, and it's understandable. I mean, we listened to a conversation that Elon Musk had yesterday on Twitter Spaces, and it sounds, decidedly negative in terms of the near term. There's a lot of uncertainty around Q4 deliveries. There's a lot of uncertainty around 2023 deliveries. There's a lot of uncertainty around the margin trajectory of the firm and whether or not they decide to cut prices to spur volumes. But, when we look over the next 6 to 12 months and over the next multiple years, whether the depth of the recession is actually pretty positive for Tesla. It puts a lot of the competitors on the back foot. They have an incredibly strong balance sheet to weather it. And out the other side, they're sustained to increase their leadership in EVs, which we think are on the cusp of really accelerating the penetration of the overall auto market. So, look, the near term is incredibly uncertain. It's being reflected in the stock, but sometimes stocks tend to bottom before the fundamentals do. So when we look out over the long term, there's a lot of long-term earnings power here. The company has lots of growth vectors, whether it's EVs, semis, robotics, and we are very, very positive in the long term of the firm.
It's interesting, isn't it? Those who are short-term, short-sighted, have a short time horizon, and maybe short on brain cells, who think they're investors, but they're actually gamblers, which, by the way, not hating. If you're a gambler and you think the stock charts tell you what a stock's going to do, congratulations, go for your life. You're allowed in the casino. I'm not judging you. I am just pointing out it's not a strategy that I would employ, especially anywhere in which capital gains tax is a thing. But as you extend your time horizon a little bit beyond your micropenis, suddenly things look extremely rosy. That's exactly what we're hearing here. Short term, some noise, but long term, things look real good. Catalyst, 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 catalyst.
George, does Elon Musk need to find somebody else to run this thing?
Tesla or Twitter? Which one?
Both at this point.
Both. Look, I've been covering the stock for a long time, and we've been through a lot with Mr. Musk. Give us a lot of controversial data, whether it's smoking marijuana on the Joe Rogan podcast, allegations of fraud. Most of these things have been proven to be false. And without his leadership, I don't think Tesla, I have a very high degree of conviction that Tesla wouldn't be here.
Facts. But please don't tell that to the Butthurt babies who are currently calling for Elon Musk to be removed because apparently he's neglecting Tesla.
And with regards to Twitter, we'll wait and see. He's already pledged that he'll step down as CEO and run the software group there. But I am a big fan of his, and I hope that he stays on Tesla for as long as he can.
You also call Tesla a sustainability behemoth. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the largest. I'm a sustainability analyst here at Canaccord Genuity, and this is the largest company in our universe. They've done more to push the world towards a sustainable energy future than any company I cover and any other company in the world. They have both leverage to generation through their solar business, through electric transport, obviously through their EVs, and through energy storage with the batteries that they put on the grid. They do a lot of things, and they cover almost every vector of the sustainability universe. So if someone's looking to invest in improving the world and moving and hopefully improving climate change, this is the number one vehicle through which you can do that. And there's a lot of earnings power. There's good cash flow long term. There's good cash flow currently. We'll wait to see what 2023 brings. So this is for us, it's the way. It's the most liquid. It's the largest cap way to invest in improving the world and moving away from climate change.
Are there any other plays, though, George, that are, where Tesla was 5 years ago? In terms, maybe not in terms of potential scope, but like Tesla, we all know about, right? What's the next thing that is going to be that sustainability leader?
So as I've been saying now for literally the last 3 years, Tesla is the next Tesla. There's no second place. I mean, they literally need a telescope to see Tesla. That's how far ahead Tesla is. Why is it that people are unwilling to just focus on the winner?
Why not just throw in the towel and say this stock is a sell or at least a hold?
Sure, it's a great question. I mean, look, clearly demand, we're starting to see cracks in terms of China as well as the U.S. So we had to cut numbers in terms of Q4 as well as 2023. And it's been just a horror show from Musk, really a Ted Stryker moment as he's navigated this Twitter situation. But our view on Tesla, long term, it's still what I view as a transformational leader in EV. I think the valuations start to get to a point where a lot of bad news is baked in, which is why we're not throwing in the towel. We're still long-term believers. But no doubt, this has been a nightmare on Elm Street.
Because I was looking back at some of the things I've written about it, and we had spoken back when it was pretty much near its highs, talking about how it had a PE of over 100, and kind of calmly pointing out, well, so did Netflix one time, so did Amazon. We've been here before. But this collapse, if we want to call it that, has been much more dramatic than certainly Amazon's, even than Netflix. Was that high PE ever justified now in retrospect? And what should a feasible PE be now for this company?
Yeah, cool. Look, I think about 75% of this is Musk Twitter driven. So I think that's what's unique. I do think because he's used Tesla, essentially his own personal ATM machine, to fund Twitter, that's been a huge overhang in the stock. And my view is this is ultimately going to be something where it's the biggest transformation to the auto industry since 1950s. Tesla continues to lead that way, competition coming from all angles. But from a valuation perspective, I believe sort of base case is 175. They start to execute with, call it $5, $6, $7 earnings potential. You could start to get back up to that 250 level. But now for Musk, after that Cinderella ride, I mean, he really needs to navigate Tesla through the storm.
So if you'll take a quick look on screen right now, what we have is an indictment on Dan Ives and his price targets. Tesla stock's around, $250, $300 per share, price target $300. Tesla stock falls to around $250 per share, price target $250. Tesla stock falls to around $150 per share, price target $175. Now, why is this an indictment? Well, you see, it almost looks like Dan Ives and Wedbush are chasing Tesla's stock with their price targets. In case you're unaware, a price target is not a prediction of what a stock will be worth at a future point in time. It's what a stock would be fairly valued at. Very different. People often make this mistake. Now, some analysts attempt to outsmart the market and predict, oh, well, valuation's going to change, multiples are going to change, I'll adjust my price target based on this. Rather than attempting to guess fair value for a stock, they're attempting to guess what the stock market will be valuing a stock at. Very different things and a very dangerous game. You may have noticed I haven't catastrophically cut my Tesla stock price targets all year, despite the stock price getting cut down by more than 50%, in fact almost 70%. My price targets remain largely unchanged because they're not a prediction for what the stock market's going to be valuing Tesla at. They're what I believe Tesla stock will be worth, fair value, based on the numbers Tesla the company does in any particular year. Now, it's important to understand the distinction is, if new information becomes available about the company's execution, their numbers, how many vehicles they'll sell, their gross margins and so on, this is a fair reason to be adjusting a price target. But if your price target adjustments basically look like you're following Tesla stock, it's pretty clear evidence that you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You don't even have a valuation model, you're just pulling numbers out of your ass to stay relevant and in the news, in my opinion.
Do you think the fundamentals have been broken here? So one interesting facet of this demand story now seems to be, are people implying from, let's say, the incentives they're offering, are people implying that the base level of demand for Tesla is permanently lower than we previously thought? Or did we just bring forward 2 or 3 years worth of orders, in which case we have to wait it out and then it gets to a higher level? I'm curious where you think that is going.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in between. I think there's definitely a bit of a pull forward that you saw, and Tesla was the huge beneficiary of that. I do think worries about brand issues because Musk is Tesla, Tesla is Musk. Is that going to start to impact demand? And then ultimately, in terms of the global macro, you're starting to see cracks in the armor for Tesla, but also competition come from all angles. I mean, it's an arms race going on with EVs. You're starting to see they're not the only game in town. And that's why now this is a pivotal 3 to 6 months ahead. I believe they could successfully navigate it, but now it's really ultimately going to be, I'll call it a moment of truth from Musk and Tesla to get through the storm.
One more, and then we'll broaden this out to tech more broadly. Kim, I appreciate your patience. But, so we had a formerly $1.2 trillion company. I imagine you don't think it will ever get back to that size now?
Did she just say that she doesn't believe Dan Ives thinks Tesla will ever exceed a $1.2 trillion market cap again? I'm pretty sure that's what she just said.
Why not make it a sell? And in retrospect, is there anything that, the question is sort of anything that we didn't see coming? Is it just the extent to which the Twitter drama has it permanently damaged the Tesla brand? Is he done with his stock sales now? I mean, there's so many factors here.
Well, I think that was the biggest. Probably the biggest thing is underestimated, even for Musk, is just how much of a train wreck this has been since late October. There was a thought that ultimately it would start to calm down, but instead, because of selling of the stock and because of some of the brand issues and what he's done on Twitter, I think that's something that's had just an unbelievably negative impact on Tesla as a stock. In terms of the valuation, look, Musk has done it before. He could do it again in terms of where EVs is going to go, 4 or 5 trillion that's going to be spent. But now no longer is it this magic carpet ride. He needs to navigate Tesla through the storm. And so far it goes back to he needs to be a leader, a CEO. It's no longer that Ted Stryker situation, which is what it's been, for Tesla investors. Rocky Balboa is what it feels like as a bull every day at 9:30 a.m.
And he's saying, no stock sales now until 2025 or so. Does anybody believe that?
But that's the boy that cried wolf.
Yeah.
And that's why even on the Twitter Spaces last night, everyone wants to believe it. But it goes back to that Pinocchio situation. He now not just needs to talk the talk, but walk the walk.
Look, I think that when you think about Tesla, you have to remember this was a stock that was $839 billion. All-time high here. Wow, 1.2 trillion. 1.2 trillion. Now, the problem with that, Carl, now it's down to 414, is that's real money by retail. Now, of course, there's S&P was added to the S&P, but the 1.2 trillion, it was probably, I think, for this era, the greatest of this year is over. Okay, this year ended, but this was, and it wasn't a con by any means. It was the greatest excitement I've ever seen, and the excitement is over. And I don't think his statement creates new excitement. I think his statement is just like, okay, listen, I know that the horse is out of the barn, but I am going to stop. Maybe there'll be some people who want to rebuild, but next year there's a lot of competition. Look, I'm not going to say Tesla's done because it's too good a company. I am saying the enthusiasm is done. And maybe that's good. There's a lot of stocks where we got way too enthusiastic, And that's what's happened. So I think retail in many ways has been crushed. Look, Nvidia's one of my favorite stocks. That was at $798 billion. That's just crazy. It was at $798 billion. It's now substantially lower. I mean, you've got to cut in half.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, Tesla. Tesla's 1.2 and went down to 395?
Yeah. Well, you look at it, do a year-to-date Bitcoin versus Tesla. The declines are about the same for 2022.
These declines, Amazon 55, Alphabet 42, Meta 69.
But Tesla stock's down solely because Elon Musk shared some opinions on Twitter. It's a coincidence that other stocks have been cut in half, give or take, approximately the same amount as Tesla over approximately the same period of time, but due to entirely different reasons that have nothing to do with compressing multiples, interest rate fears, recession fears, and people bailing out of growth stocks in a panic. Obviously, all Elon's fault for sharing his opinions. That's why Tesla stock's down.
Microsoft only 31 only. Can you imagine? Nvidia 55, Tesla 69. That's the end of retail. Okay, that's the end of retail as we know it. It's the second time within 13 years that retail's been blown out. And they're not coming back. And so it doesn't matter. He can say whatever he wants. I mean, it's just like Adam Aaron can say whatever he wants. I mean, it doesn't matter. Ryan Cohen can say whatever he wants. The enthusiasm is over. And when you talk about the stock market now with people, they very quickly change the conversation to anything but the stock market. Sports, politics.
Well, look at what B of A said this morning about weekly outflows. I mean, new records on that front. But does Tesla, we talked about this with Mark Fields yesterday on Closing Bell, does it command a premium because of its supply chain agility, lack of a dealer network, no average? Basically.
Yes, but a premium to what? That's the problem. I mean, to Ford?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ford is going to have 50,000 EVs. They have some really good EVs, I think, by this time next year rolling out. And that means that for the first time, you're going to have to see, I believe, advertising for Tesla. I think they have to advertise. They about have a 66% share. And if you really have a heavy Ford and GM EV in scale, then Tesla's going to have a more expensive business model. And I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know, Carl. I just am looking at the twilight, the peak trough twilight of Fat Man. That's what we call it, Fat Man. Facebook, Amazon.
Yeah, yes. Well, if Tesla were to have a multiple in line with Ford's, I think I have this right. It would take it to $16. You're not calling for that.
Oh no! I'm just saying. No. What I'm saying is that a stock that's at $395 billion, it could go to $295 billion. I mean, that's what happened. Like stocks became, whatever people wanted them to be, and you'll have a Kathy Wood saying, "Well, that's what this is," and then you'll have another person come and say, "That's what I mean." Dan Ives. I mean, there's no rigor. There's no rigor to anything. They're just like, Tesla. Let me tell you, feels like 360. I mean, honestly.
I'm not going to lie. Jim Cramer just perfectly summed up the Dan Ives Tesla stock price target strategy. Oh, yeah, the wind's going that way. Okay, $260 per share. Oh, wait, the stock's down. Hang on. Oh, yep, $175 per share because green tidal wave.
I was taught by Lee Cooperman that there had to be a reason why something sold where it sold. Well, this was the year where that wasn't true.
It has been fascinating to watch people lose all perspective as emotions cloud their judgment and their reasoning faculties. Anchor there confidently suggesting that Dan Ives would never expect Tesla to exceed a $1.2 trillion market cap ever again. Okay. Got Dan the weather vane Ives chasing Tesla stock with his price targets. Never makes sense, never has, never will. But I respect his strategy for getting his face in the media constantly. You have a few people whose reasoning faculties still manage to remain online, despite all the turmoil, pointing out that over the short term, could be brutal, but over the long term, Tesla's in a dominant position, there's no competition, fat margins, fat cash flow, high volume, high scale, compelling technology. Why would you want to bet against this company? And as I've said many times, while they're crying, I'm still buying. With every spare cent. And if you're in the mood to cancel me, head over to Patreon, check out today's video, runs in at over half an hour. I react to women's extremely, and I mean extremely unrealistic expectations when it comes to men, what they're looking for in a partner, and in particular, how much income they'd like their future man to actually earn. This is equal parts hilarious and possibly going to get me cancelled one day. If you're not a member on Patreon, you want to check the video out, plus the archive of over 250 others, you can join with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment.